welcome to a special mini episode of A Polite Notice, a single-seater podcast. We're here today with Dan and Emma to yap about a very special part of motorsports with a very special guest. Please welcome Jake Sanson. Jake Sanson is one of the rising voices in motorsports commentary and TV presenting, from trackside commentary at circuits around the world to appearing on major TV shows and writing for top motorsports publications. Jake's journey is a testament to his passion and expertise in the world of racing. Today, we're diving into his career, inspirations, and some fun motorsports banter. Let's get started. Jake, welcome to Polite Notice, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, an absolute pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much for the invitation. I've been a podcaster most of my career, so always nice to come and join people and talk about, this fantastic sport that we all love.
We will always take up an offer, no matter from who,
Definitely.
to be honest with you.
Very cool.
So what is your earliest memory of racing? Was there a specific moment that made you fall in love with motorsports in general?
I suppose my earliest memories of racing and the sport in general would have to come from my father. He got me into it as a young lad. He was a car salesman and wannabe mechanic. I think he had more ambition to be a mechanic than actual talent. But he loved playing with cars. He had all sorts of bits and pieces of engine all over the house and was a real dabbler. He loved Formula One. He was French. He's a Frenchman. So he was a massive fan of Alain Prost and Jean Alesi. So they were his heroes. Before then, it had been Gilles Villeneuve. So I kind of was brought up very, very new to the sport. I kind of got into it by sitting on his knee and watching along with him. He watched the British Grand Prix 1992. And that was the moment that galvanized me for a fan base forever. That was it. And I fell head over heels in love with the racing cars of Nigel Mansell, Ayrton Senna, Jean Alesi. I even liked the car at the back, Damon Hill's pink and blue Brabham. I thought that was pretty cool and pretty swish. And then it just kind of accelerated from there. I watched everything: Formula One, British touring cars, karting, Formula 3000, FIA GT. I loved it all. And I begged and pleaded my parents as a youngster. I really wanted to go karting. This was the sport I knew I could be good at. This was where my talent lied. And there was no money in the family, so there was no opportunity really for me to go racing. I could go every now and then for a play. I took it way too seriously because I thought, this is my chance. Maybe there's somebody at the track who might spot me and go, oh, well, you can come and drive for us. It never happened, of course. But Mum always said, well, no, you've got such a passion for this and, you clearly love it. Why don't you take over from Murray when he retires? You clearly do nothing but talk about it. So you should be a commentator. So I kind of took her words on board. That's what I wanted to be. I pushed myself, went into university with the dream of doing it, gave up on it. And then accidentally, it all came back around. And I didn't really expect it to happen. It's been a real rocky road of a journey.
So with that, you've kind of answered our second question, but I'm still going to push on it a little bit. Loved the hint to the slight pink car that we've seen back in the days, just because we're a pink podcast. And we were praying that the Alpine livery would come back to a full pink. It's not looking like it.
I love that. I mean, for me, any opportunity to be a little bit more garish and a little bit more daring with a colour scheme in Formula One, I love it. I used to love the yellow Jordans. I used to love the, deep racing green of the Jaguars. The Racing Points, when they came out all pink, I thought, wow, that is so unique, so daring. And I thought, yeah, that's a very cool livery for someone to go, yep, this is what we're going to do. I even loved the British American Racing the very first year they came out, when they had two brands they wanted to promote. They wanted to have one car, one colour, the other, the other. Bernie Eccleston said, no, you can't do that. So they decided to just have a zip concept where one half of the car was one and the other half was the other. I thought, that's mad. That's insane. And I love it. So yeah, car liveries have always been a real passion of mine.
They're amazing, especially the limited edition ones that we see for certain Grand Prix. Yes. They're just chef's kiss, honestly. You did touch on this a little bit, just with your career journey in general, but was there anything in particular that inspired you to go into commentary and presenting? Was there also a moment when you thought of it before anyone else pointed it out? Just a turning point in the career where you saw yourself being in this particular path and wanting to do this?
I think it was after I had already given up on it when I went to university. I was studying media performance, and I knew I wanted to perform. I was a bit of an actor when I was in school and college. I used to do a lot of the school plays. I got casted in the lead in year 11, and I really enjoyed being on stage and really enjoyed singing and performing and acting. And it was always something that, I felt my real self. I felt really at home. And so when I went into the world of work that was, a million miles away from all of that, it had been because I'd given up on the dream. I thought, this isn't going to happen for me. It doesn't happen for everybody. And it clearly wasn't going to happen for me. So I went into the world of work, and I was working on the streets of Wrexham, of all places, as a youth work practitioner, having retrained as a youth worker. So I was in Wrexham long before Ryan Reynolds ever got there, but I still obviously knew Wrexham very well, and I know the city and I know the town very, very well. But yeah, I needed a second job, basically. I needed another form of income that was going to be sustainable, that was going to help keep us in the red, and at the same time wasn't too taxing, wasn't going to take a lot of training. So I went to my local indoor karting circuit at Sandycroft, just over the Welsh border outside of Chester, and I just begged with the managers. I said, look, have you got any work at all going, anything at all? I did one shift for them, which was a combination of waving flags, wiping suits, dusting helmets, sweeping the floors, basically. And they said, yep, you're in. So that was my first job in racing, was at an indoor karting circuit, sweeping floors and, cleaning race suits. That was my first job. And it was after about 3 or 4 weeks in the job, I realized that on Saturdays they had corporate Grand Prix events where people would rock up, and it became a sort of a bit of a culty club thing. These frustrated Formula One drivers, they would come to the race circuit every Saturday, and they would try and beat each other. And I saw an opportunity to have some fun. It wasn't even a career path; it was just to have some fun. I turned to the bosses and I said, "Look, we could have commentary on this. We could make it a real event for the people coming." And they said, well, it sounds all right, but we don't know anybody who could do it. And I said, well, I can do it. So I sort of thrusted myself into that position. They said, well, let's give it a try. And we did. And in the first week, it was very clear it was a good idea. And we just ran with it. And it wasn't until December of that year, 2011, that we had an autograss racing club. The North Shropshire Autograss Club came for their Christmas party to have a Grand Prix event. And so I did the commentary as normal. And the chairman of the club, Ernie Ashley, who not only happened to be the chairman of that club, was the chairman of the whole sport of autograss racing, just the irony of it, basically said to me, what are you doing next year? I said, well, this is what I'm doing. And he said, no, come and work for us. I think you'd be really great working for us. So I accepted, and that sort of gave me the confidence, that gave me the sort of nudge. Okay, this could actually turn into something. And at that time, it was only just a hobby. I was just amusing myself to make the job on Saturday a little bit more bearable. But for me, I was the only person in that whole indoor karting circuit that had a smile on their face 24/7. I was around racing cars. I didn't care that I was sweeping floors and, polishing helmets. And, I was at a racetrack. And that was what I'd always dreamed of wanting to do. It was an indoor karting circuit, okay. But I was doing what I wanted to do. And honestly, I was like a child. I was like a child let loose in the M&M store. I was so, so happy. And I've always had that same joy, that same burning passion when I've been at a racetrack. Nothing compares to it.
You're quite literally the definition of working your way up
100%
into it and just grabbing the opportunity. That's amazing.
It is. And wow. But yeah. You've covered everything from Formula One to Le Mans to big TV appearances. What has been your proudest moment out of everything that you've done?
I suppose the maddest, the most outstanding, the most bizarre and, unbelievable moment, it's still got to be Le Mans. Le Mans is the ultimate race weekend to cover, because it's not just a weekend, it's an entire week, it's a festival. It's an entire Formula One season squashed into 5 days. It's an unbelievable experience, and I had always dreamt of going. My dad had gone, and he would tell me so many stories. And he went in the sort of the early 90s, so he went right at the end of Group C. So, Porsche, Jaguar, Sauber, Mercedes. He went in that era, so it's like, right, he got the better era than I did. But still, I always set myself a target when I came into racing and it became a proper job. I wanted to cover one of the big three, Monaco, Indianapolis, Le Mans, and I got the call up at Le Mans. I had done, in the previous years for Eurosport, I had been sort of doing late night reporting every hour, going on the screen and basically doing nightly reports on audio and then handing over to the commentary teams. So that had been fun for 2013, 2015. But then for 16, I got to go. And that was absolutely incredible. So I was one half of the ACO commentary team, myself and Chris Dawson, who was a mechanic in the world of motor racing, got to basically do the commentary job. And then the other half of the team, they would take the other 12 hours. So we did 12, they did 12. And to this day, the 45-minute build-up before I got into the booth for the first time on that Saturday on the starting grid is, I will never, ever experience that again. I will never forget that again. It's just the most crazy 45 minutes of my career. I'm given a headset and a notebook, and I've given a list of teams to go and ask questions of. Go and find out what's happening here with this thing, with this thing, with this thing. So the first team I go to is KCMG. They'd had a spin in the warm-up, and I went and found the team manager. He was talking with someone. I couldn't see who it was, but I'm fresh-faced and I want to make a good impression. I said, hi, I just want to figure out what happened in the warm-up this morning, why the car went off the road. And the guy said, yes, no problem, no problem. By the way, have you met Jackie Chan? What? He's having a conversation with Jackie Chan. Because he's there, because he's just there. And obviously Jackie, being Jackie, the friendliest man in the universe, puts his hand up. Hello. Oh, hello. Oh my gosh. And I'm having a handshake with Jackie Chan while desperately trying. This is my first day on the gig at Le Mans, and I've got to be professional and just focus and get on with it. Right. I fill out that note. I get on with it. I move on. I move away. And I'm writing and walking, which is a very stupid idea. They tell you should never do it. And my 9-year-old brain is going, I just shook hands with Jackie Chan. And I crash straight into somebody. And I'm so sorry. It's Patrick Dempsey. What is happening? Seriously, what is happening?
I hope you never washed your hands again after this. I hope you never.
I haven't washed anything on my upper torso. Just crazy. And I had my first ever job for Eurosport had been to be the narrator of his documentary when he switched from acting to motor racing. And he recognized my voice. I couldn't believe it. His recall, his passion for racing is unbelievable. So Patrick even recognized my voice. He went, I know you. I went, I swear, Patrick, you don't. He went, no, but I know your voice. I know you. You did my show. You did episode 1 of my show. I said, yes, I did. He went, you were fantastic, man. You were brilliant. I said, no way. This is the wrong way round. This is not the way round it's supposed to go. But yeah, and then I get this nudge. We carry on with that. A few more conversations. I get to chat to my good friend, Sir Chris Hoy. I can't believe I get to call him a friend. He's been so amazing and helped out with a lot of different things in my career the last few years when he's been in race cars. And I'm having a chat with him, and I get this message. It's been raining on the start-finish straight, which is not unusual for Le Mans. But the producer comes in my earpiece and says, we are going to start under the safety car. That's never happened in the history of Le Mans. We need to know what's going on. We need to know what the procedure is. Can you get to the front? Can you find someone for the FIA, figure out what's going on? Okay, sorry, Chris, gotta go. And I'm running past Toyota, past Ford, past Ferrari, everybody to get to the front. And there's one delegate from the FIA, and it's Jean Todt. And he's having a conversation with Brad Pitt. So...
Is that where it all started? I need you to tell us. Is that where it all
started? It all began for him. But I'm there, and I'm having to tell my producer, look, I can't interrupt this conversation. It's the FIA president, and he's chatting to Brad Pitt. I am not going to be the guy who breaks up that conversation. Jake, we've literally got 20 minutes. You've got to get that in. We need it. Oh, no, what am I going to do? So I think the only way I'm going to break the ice and not be a total idiot is I'm going to use my best schoolboy French, because my father's French, so I'm going to use it. That's my in. That's my way in. So I say to Jean, in my best schoolboy French, I'm from the commentary team for ACO. We just need to know what the procedure is going to be for the safety car start. And bless him, Jean is an amazing person. He says to me, you can speak in English, you know. It's okay. No problem. He's wonderful. I love Jean. I miss him as FIA president. He was such a great character. Anyway, he said, I was just going to explain it to Brad, by the way. Brad, what was your name? It's Jake. And so yes, I got the triple. I got the Jackie Chan handshake. I got the Patrick Dempsey handshake. And then I got the Brad Pitt handshake. So no other conversation happened. I should point that out. I haven't had the massive Hollywood moment. There was no conversation. But I'm writing it all down and taking it. This would not happen in any other event. It would never happen. I've been to so many different events, and I've been, very privileged to cover so many forms of motor racing in the last 14 years. Only at Le Mans does that kind of insanity happen. Only at Le Mans does that kind of lunacy become reality. It's a fairy tale on a start-finish straight. It's amazing.
2 things. We're all so glad you're here. And second, you've just made me and Imane very happy because we were debating going to Le Mans for so long, for about all of 6 months we've known each other.
Yeah, you guys and everyone listening, it is the event to go to. As much as going to a Formula One race is fantastic, as much as being at Formula E is so welcome and so warming and so open, it's the most incredible fan experience, Formula E. But Le Mans is an assault on the senses. It's a flash of noise. It's a splash of color every 30 seconds. It's like being in a giant Lego set and just running around and touching everything and smelling and inhaling all the smells, all the sounds from the engines, from all the vendors at the back, from the handshakes you get with people from all around the world. Everyone from all around the world goes to it. Even if there are no drivers from those countries to support, everyone who's a petrol head goes to Le Mans. It is the most incredible week of your life. And I have absolutely no regrets from having gone in 2016, covered the event. I spent 12 hours in the booth and the other 12 hours were in the stands. I did not care. They said, go and get some sleep. No way, you kidding? This is my first time to Le Mans. I spent 12 hours in the stands, soaking it all up, and I have zero regrets.
We will not be sleeping. We will need a lot of energy drinks for that.
Bless you, man. Bless you.
We have to now.
Get the tickets, and if you can, get a huge glamp tent. It's the only way to experience it. It's the only way to do it. Like an 8-man tent for 3 or 4 of you, and it's so much better. I mean, yes, it's a bit roughhouse and hotels and all that. Nice.
It's fine.
Not
Who cares? I will do anything.
Exactly.
You've got to experience it from the raw. When you're there, lying in your lie-low under your sleeping blanket and everything, and you hear that Porsche, that straight 6 going past you at full chat, it sends a shiver down the back of your spine that's just, oh my goodness, you never forget that moment. And yeah, camp. For any other race, take a hotel. For Le Mans, camp. It is the most joyous experience. So worth it.
Don't need to tell me twice. I'm going. See you.
We will see you there at some point, I'm sure. Obviously, Le Mans sounds like it's the standout motorsport series for you and the one that you enjoyed the most. Has it been your favorite one to comment on so far or to watch? Like if you have one moment that you look back on that was the most standout one, is it Le Mans that you're thinking of, or is it another series?
It's a really good question, because I think we have this in our heads that unless we're covering the massive championships like Formula One or Le Mans or the Indy 500 or these things, that we're not achieving our full potential. And there seems to be this high pressure thing that goes all the way through the sport. Be you a man or a woman, if you're not covering Formula One, then you're irrelevant. And I don't agree with that. I've been in this sport for a decade and a half now, and I have covered Formula One. I've been very privileged to do it. And the actual experience of being in the paddock is such a different experience to what you think it's going to be. It's a very cutthroat industry. You don't get a lot of people holding your hand like you do in other forms of sport. There is a community, but you've got to be hardwired into that community. You've got to be there permanently, week in, week out. If you're there just for one race, it's very difficult to make an impression. And it was so funny. One of my friends, Sam, who's a journalist, was covering Formula One at the time. And he saw me in the media center and I was just sweating. I was just sweating buckets. I was so terrified. And imposter syndrome was really taking a hold on me that weekend. And he said, I've never, ever seen you look this stressed. He said, why don't you just get out and come out of the media center and let's have some fun. And this was on the Thursday, I think. The Thursday afternoon. I had just gone through all the training and everything. And we went into the pits and saw some of the pit stop practice drills and everything. And then the Sky F1 team did their thing on the start-finish straight. They were doing a cricket thing. And anybody who was there could just go out on the straight. So me and Sam ended up fielding for Johnny Herbert while he was mucking about playing cricket on the straight. It's little moments like that. Unfortunately, I had met Johnny before and I knew him. So as an Essex boy, I was an Essex boy. So there's that little click, there's that little thing. So the good news is that there are really nice people in Formula One, but there is that sort of, if you're in the zone, if you're in that community, fantastic. To crowbar yourself in and be a permanent fixture is very tough. I haven't managed it yet. And, there are people in F1 who do know who I am, but the right opportunity, the right opening hasn't happened. In terms of the event that has given me the most joy, the most thrill, the most excitement as a commentator, I still have to go back to a race that is no longer running anymore, rather sadly, which is the Grand Prix de Pau. It no longer runs, which is a real shame. 23 was the last event. And finally, the noise police finally took hold of it. And now we no longer get to race around the streets of Pau, which was such an incredible event. And the year I got to commentate on the Formula 3 race was the year that Lando Norris put it on pole. So, you know, it was just such an amazing challenge. There were some amazing names in that particular field as well. You had Lando Norris, you had Maxi Günther, you had Mick Schumacher, you had Nikita Mazepin, you had all of these up-and-coming talents, most of whom are now in either the World Endurance Championship, Formula One, or Formula E. You know, they're all really, if you look through that grid, it's like, wow, okay, that's an amazing grid of drivers. And just to be in the south of France on a gorgeous sunny weekend, at an event I had read about since I was a kid, and to basically be given free reign. You know, nobody was ordering me around. It's like, as long as you're here for this particular event, you can just go and do your own thing. So I just took my notebook and chatted with every driver, shook hands with everybody, had some fantastic conversations with drivers. And it was like the one time I was given complete access, complete free reign. And that was wonderful. I think the only other event really that gets close to that would probably be Monza 2023, which was for the Fanatec GT European Championship. And it was the opportunity to work for the 3 hours commentating alongside John Watson. Now that, for me, that's just I was a huge British touring car fan in the 90s. Him and Charlie Cox were my favourite commentary team as a kid growing up. They were just a fantastic double act. And to actually work with him, and he has just retired. So I got to be one of the very last commentators to work with him. And he was so encouraging, so supportive. It's a slight deviation. Unfortunately, you have to learn that about me. I do deviate because one memory links to another. One memory, it all tags up. So John was an amazing person to work with because, again, when I go into a new championship and it's something as big as Fanatec GT or Formula E or whatever, imposter syndrome really kicks in. I'm autistic. I have seasonal afflictive disorder. I have ADHD. So it all kind of clusters together. And Jake Sanson that you see on the outside looks pretty ready and cool and ready to go. Inside, I've got Roadrunner, Tweety Pie, Sylvester. They're all chasing each other and throwing and smashing windows around. It's absolute carnage. And I'm trying to get a lid on it. And John was fantastic for toning all that down and calming me and getting me into a place where I was really, really feeling like I deserved to be there. And that's what was really, really special about it. I didn't just feel good about being there. I felt like I deserved to be there. Working with John was wonderful. He took me for dinner at his favourite restaurant in the town at Nürburgring. And so to have dinner with him was so fabulous. And we were literally talking like equals and chatting about this race. And it was just wonderful. And it was so funny. The table next to us, there were these two young lads who were like, I'm sure that's Renee. And John was kind of nudging me and kind of going, I think these two are going to ask me in a minute. And they did. And they said, I'm really, really sorry to interrupt. Excuse me. Are you Jackie Stewart? Oh, fantastic. And John, being John Watson, the guy who went, yes, in the thickest Northern Irish accent ever, because of course Jackie's a Scot. So John just played with it. It was, so funny. And those are the moments, as much as the fun comes from being in the commentary box, those moments are wonderful. And it's like, that's the justification of the job I'm in. But those side moments that you get to be part of, that you're in, and only you get the privilege of being in that moment. And it's, the joy that comes from the job. It's that you get moments like that every weekend. And that's what I do this for. That's where I live for it. You can commentate on a million races and forget what happened, but it's those little moments that are part of the whole fabric of it. And you get to be part of that. The overwhelming sense of privilege is just, it's baffling sometimes. It really is.
Yeah, it overwhelms you in the best way possible. It's the one industry you can work forever and then you'll never get bored of it, no matter what you're doing.
Never a dull moment in those moments. So it's like, it's fun, and you're like just seeing those experiences and living those experiences, and then you replay the fun memories of that you've got. Like, as you said, you can comment on so many races and you forget, but then there's these moments that just grab you and you're like, that's going to stay with me forever, and I love it, and this is why I'm doing it. And it's amazing hearing these stories. It's like learning as well, and it's like, wow. And they're definitely fun moments.
I think personally we get too bogged down in the pressure and the enormity of having to justify why we do this job. The be all and end all of doing this job is that, do you love it? Yes. Are you researched? Yes. Have you got a passion for it? Yes. Then you belong. It doesn't matter where you are from, what your background is, how much money is in your bank account, whether you are male or a female, whether you come from England, whether you come from America, from Saudi Arabia, from Sri Lanka, from wherever it happens to be. If you have that driving passion, if this is what you were put on earth to do, to talk about, to share with other people, to express your love and your joy and all of the creativity that God's given you, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And there's nobody on this earth that can tell you otherwise. If that's what you're meant to do, you have to know it. It's something that you know in your head and you know it in your heart. This is what I was put on this earth to do. And if you've got that much drive and that much passion, there isn't anyone who's going to be able to stop you.
Yeah.
I'm having such a good time. I can't even explain.
I'm loving it. This is why we started the podcast, because we all have our own passions of, like, we all came into like motorsports in different ways, whether it be Drive to Survive. Like you, I grew up with F1, but my mum was she loved F1. Like she loved it since the 70s, and she's been such a big fan. She's watched practically all of the races that she can. She'd literally have the ironing board out every Sunday morning, ironing, watching the race. And like we grew up with it, where both my brothers, they loved it. Me, I wasn't interested until like 2020, and I watched it was Bahrain when Romain Grosjean went off, and I sat there absolutely in shock, and I just fell in love. And then like gradually just fall in love with the drivers and their passion, and like even going behind the scenes, like you just fall in love. And we all have our own different ways of how we came into like the motorsports, and it's just amazing hearing different stories from different people as well.
I would have loved watching Formula One in your house. Seriously, I'm the only person in my house and in my family, both as a childhood and then when I got married and had kids. I was the only person in my house, both times really, that had the passion for it. My sister did a very good job in our childhood to really take it on, because she wanted to bond with me, and she did a really good job. She did know a fair bit, but it's really frustrating when you've got so much passion and energy for something and there's nobody to really share it with.
You'll get the kids into it.
Yeah.
You have to.
I tried so hard. No, I'm not kidding. I tried so hard. Okay, so I don't talk about my kids very often, but this is I don't have to go into too many details. I took them karting, much against the better judgment of everybody. I did take them karting one time. My eldest was very good, like really very good, better than I was when I did my first go. And even the circuit managers were like, has she done this before? I went, no. Right, you might have some talent there. I was like, oh no, not only is she good, but she's really good. And then I talked to her afterwards and said, you're really, really good. She went, yeah, I don't fancy it. What? Why not?
Oh, no.
It's too noisy, it's too smelly, it's not, no, I don't really like it. But you have this ability, you have this great talent. Yeah, but you could see she didn't have the passion for it. My younger daughter could have just taken it or left it really. And my son, bless him, no matter how many times we told him where the brake pedal was, he couldn't figure it out.
Aww.
So there was a monstrous accident about 2 minutes to go in the session.
No.
He was perfectly okay, but yeah, it's put him off for life. He's going to be a paleontologist. He's quite happy to go and dig for dinosaur fossils. That's what he's going to do. It's all fine. I think he'll be safer there.
Yeah. I mean, it took my mum like 20 odd years to get me liking F1. So you'll get there eventually.
You never know. Your eldest might come back to it. You never know.
I can only hope. What I love about this sport, I still get those pangs as a viewer. I still get, I think it's funny because people think, if you're a commentator, it's very hard to get emotional about these things. But when you know everybody that you're commentating on, when you know these people, when you study them and when you talk to them, and you know how hard they've worked and you know what it means to them. I mean, in particular, every January, February, I head out to the Middle East and cover the Formula Regional and Formula 4 championships that take place, largely on Dubai and Yas Marina. And for quite a few of those drivers, it's their first time out of Europe. It's their first time out of their native land, and they're going and racing a fairly decent car on a Formula 1 circuit. So for them, it's like the first time they walk out into that pit lane and they just look around them. And it's like, you get to witness that moment with them. You know, they're there and they're walking the circuit and they can't quite believe they get to race on this circuit. They get to be an actual race car driver on a Formula One circuit where Max Verstappen, Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel have been a world champion. So it's like, that's a big moment for them. And you're part of that big moment. You're telling the story, you're giving the context. And people, it's so funny, people have a go at me a lot on social media for getting too excited. They tell me that I'm shouting too much, I'm getting excited over nothing. You know, I have a very exuberant style. And I think when you connect emotionally to these people, when you have that understanding of context, when you realize how much work's gone in, and you truly love it, the way that I love it in particular, it's impossible to detach. It's impossible to not feel the enormity of those moments, those first breakthrough victories, those first breakthrough podiums, the satisfying overtake on a track that's so hard to overtake on. Those things are really important. And I've always felt that the way that you commentate on Formula One should be the way that you commentate for everything. At the end of the day, Formula One is the pinnacle, and it's what everybody watches, and it's where all the money is, it's where all the glory and the glamour and the newsworthy bulletins and everything is. It's where the stories are. But to get there, there's a journey. You have to work your way up. And without people who are championing you, who are making you go viral, who are putting those screens, putting those videos on the internet and making it go viral with the words that you say and showing people how good these drivers are, the sponsors don't come. You have to give them that support. I feel that as a commentator in the lower divisions, it's my duty to show people the hard work these guys are doing so that the sponsors go, well, we're going to back him. We're going to work with him. So that Red Bull come along and go, he should be in our academy. It's those moments that make those decisions happen. And we are in the best possible time for motorsport because never before have the junior categories like Formula 2, Formula 3, the F1 Academy, Formula Regional, F4 have ever been televised. You know, but when I was a kid, you were lucky if you got to watch Formula 3 racing. When I was a kid, it was a very, very tough, fine line. All of these races, particularly in things like Formula Vauxhall and Formula Junior and Formula Ford, these things were never televised. And so now the opportunity is there, bigger than it's ever been before. We have a duty as broadcasters to give these guys the platform and give these guys the viewership that will get them all the way to Formula One. So my duty is to commentate on it the way I would a Formula One race. For them on the starting grid, when the lights are going out, that same tension, that same heartbeat, those same beads of sweat are going down the brow. So why should I, as a broadcaster, treat it any differently? You know, every job I prepare for is preparing for a Formula One gig that may or may not happen. Even if it doesn't, that doesn't mean I'm going to commit less than 100% on anything I do. The drivers and the competitors that do this sport are working just as hard for less of a reward, ultimately. So there has to be some purpose for them doing it. They have to, if they've had a miserable time, at least they can get to look back on it and go, I was part of something special. And that's my duty. I feel the burden of duty to make sure that I make the show entertaining for people. If they don't like it, well, they can always change the channel. But I personally think that's what motor racing is supposed to be.
Yeah, you do it for an audience, obviously. You do it for the people watching it and for the people listening to you. But ultimately, very few people realize, in a way, you're advocating for everyone else that's in that car on that track. You bring in that engagement, you bring in the views. People wouldn't, I don't think I've ever met anyone, and if I ever do, I don't know what's wrong with you. But if you watch it with the sound off, the excitement just goes away. What else are you gonna... I want to hear you yell at them or ask why that penalty happened or how long they're in the pits for. Like, I need that to fuel me to actually enjoy it. Yeah, I can't. Every time I do have it, I also have the map on it, whether that's Formula One, whether that's one of the lower series that I'm watching. I always kind of watch the dots too, in a way. But equally, it doesn't really make much sense. If I'm looking at that, I need some commentary, whether I'm watching on a live stream or watching on TV or...
I'm a rare one. I actually engage with it. I engage with the social media comments, and like when we have a YouTube stream and people are commenting, I
prefer a YouTube stream to the actual race.
It's mad. Yeah, I have it on a third screen. I have it on a monitor, and I've got the chat box open, and like on the formation lap or when we're behind safety car or when we're under red flag, I go to it, and it's so funny the amount of comments that you'll get from people going, "Uh-oh, he's actually reading it. Guys, he's reading it. He's reading it." We've got to be polite. He knows
we're here. He knows we're here.
got to keep people on their toes. It's great. But no, the whole point of this sport in the modern era is that we've got an opportunity to engage with fans. Without those fans, I don't have employment. So as far as I'm concerned, I have to engage with the fans. They're the ones who are putting the money in my bank account. So the only way I can show gratitude to them for that is, I want them to be part of the event. So I will engage, and I always will engage.
Oh yeah, like the excitement sometimes on commentators, like you get drawn into it. You're like, oh my God. And then when you hear when you see like an overtake happen, and when you hear the commentator get so excited over it, you're sitting there going, oh, what's going to happen? And then when the overtake happens and they're like out of it, and you're sitting there on the edge of your seat going, oh, this is amazing. And you just sit there. That's what I love. Like for me, I love the exciting moments. I mean, it's stressful sometimes, especially when they're my favourites. But when you also at the same time, you're like, oh my God, this is a edge of my seat. And you're sitting there going, yes, yes. And then sometimes the overtake doesn't happen. You're like, oh, then you sit back with like the commentator when they go, yeah. And that's what I like. And seeing that with a few commentators, you go, that's what you want. That's what you need. And sometimes you have the, not the monotones, but you just get sometimes that don't have that excitement. And sometimes some races aren't the most excitable races. We all have our opinions, and then sometimes you have that races where you're just like, holy, like wow, what is happening? And like the chaos, like Brazil for last year, that was absolute chaos, and you're at the edge of your seat constantly. And then you have like a race like, no offense, Monaco, where you kind of get used to not the most exciting. If it rains, then you're like, brilliant, there's going to be fighting.
I love the way you talk about the passion of Brazil last year. Actually, it came. That was my favorite race of last year, because I actually felt, I had just emigrated out to Thailand like the week and a half, I think, before the race in Brazil, and I was feeling a little bit homesick. I had moved, 10,000 miles away from everybody I knew, and it was like, well, this is a work decision I've taken, and I had just got into my new condo. I had just started learning where everything was in the town. I didn't have many friends at that point here in the city, and it was all a bit enormous. It was all a bit overwhelming. And then I remembered that the Grand Prix was on, and because of the time zone difference, it was very late. I think the race started 11 p.m. here, so I had to go and find a bar that had the Grand Prix on, basically. So I kind of scattered around to a few places and then found one. And that race, I ended up, I'm in a bar in Thailand with a whole bunch of strangers. We're all on our feet. We're all jumping around, enjoying it. And I just felt like a fan again. I just felt like that fan, that 16-year-old boy that was sitting watching and loving every minute of it. I felt like that guy who invited his best mate over to watch Lewis Hamilton win the 2008 world title in Brazil. We nearly broke my mother's sofa. She was so angry with me. I love those moments. That's why I got into this sport. And little things like that, as professional as we want to be, is up tempo, and we all want to be like Formula One pros, but at the end of the day, we've still got to remember why we love it. It's that childhood desire, that burning passion. There is no greater, tougher, harder, more exciting sport in the world than this for me. And I still love to find moments to connect with it with people. And a lot of people have criticized me for being a bit childish about it. Who cares? That's my way of doing it. That's my modus operandi. I've just joined the JB broadcasting team run by Joshua Birch, and they do fan-driven and fan-led audio commentaries of all the top-level championships. We just did the Daytona 24 Hours, and they invited me to come on and said, you should come and have a go at it. And I don't think they ever actually expected me to say yes. So I did it, and honestly, I had so much fun, so much enjoyment. We were bantering about all sorts of mad things under the sun at 1 o'clock in the morning. We were having great conversations with the fans who were typing in on YouTube. We were asking each other questions about, did you think this driver did this? And we are missing that. We are missing that so much in so many areas. I actually really get a kick out of watching the F1 Kids on Sky. I think that's a really well-driven broadcast. It's really intuitive. It doesn't demean the audience, who are obviously younger than the mainstream. It makes them feel like grown-ups, but it does it from an area that's very intellectual, but also very approachable. And I think it's the way that we drive broadcasts we can be a little bit standoffish if we're not careful. We have a responsibility to the fans. It doesn't matter how many drivers there are on the grid. It doesn't matter how many team principals, how many sponsors, how many celebrities you drag up on the grid who don't know anything about Formula One and are just there to get their fans interested. The most important people are the fans. Without them, we have nothing. We have no race. We have no circuit. We have no car. We have no sport. The fan is the most important person in this sport. And if we do not do right by the fan, if we just ignore them, if we don't give them what they want, if we feel like their involvement is worthless, then we are selling the sport short. And as a result, my favorite championships at the moment to commentate on are the Japanese championships. I love doing Super Formula. I love doing Super GT. For me, they are the two best racing championships in the world at the moment. And the reason for that is because the only thing they care about as their top priority is the fan going through the turnstile. It's all got to come back to them. And as a result, the stands are packed. You know, I have never seen quite so passionate a partisan crowd on the main straight at Motegi, or the main straight at Autopolis, or Okayama, or Suzuka, or Fuji, as you get in Super GT. With 30 seconds to go, everyone gets their flags, and it's like a sea en masse. It's so invigorating to witness that and go, wow, we're part of something really quite special here. And it's things like that that matter to me. You know, I don't have to have a massive amount of money in my bank account. I don't have to have a Porsche to get to work, but I do need to have a smile on my face when I'm doing my job. And that matters more to me than anything else in my job. So things like that are really, really important. And they should be important for every championship on the planet.
They genuinely, media coverage, and I feel like we haven't discovered this for the past, we've only just discovered it in the past handful of years. I feel like during the pandemic, it picked up a lot because people needed to engage with it, the coverage itself and everything that we saw on social media, and we just paid attention to it. But I think it's starting to play, and it has always done this, but right now in particular, such a huge role in shaping the future of motorsports all across the series, from lower series, from international races that we've seen. I watched the Daytona 24 Hours for the first time in my life this year, and I just couldn't go to sleep. I would try to, because I would feel my body being tired, and I'm just like, no, I need to see how this ends. I need to see, in particular, the GTP class just had me holding my breath, and just I felt like
Tommy Milner in the Corvette versus the BMWs.
I felt like my soul was crawling out of me. I cannot
It was like something out of Speed Racer, wasn't it? It was crazy. Couldn't believe that professionals were playing games like that. It was mad.
It was absolutely insane. But on that note, I do think that there's definitely better things that the media needs to do to engage fans more. We've kind of seen it pick up a little bit. The latest thing that we spoke about on our last recording that we did a couple of days ago was the content creator program that Aston Martin just put out. It's a start. It's going somewhere in the right direction, because essentially you're taking people who build up their brand from that and trying to make a name for themselves and trying to engage with people from various backgrounds and get them into the sport, and seeing that, yes, anyone can watch this, anyone can understand it, anyone can love it. Do you think there's anything else that the media could do better across the series or in general to just make fans feel like they're a part of it again, or they're continuing to be a part of the sport?
It's a difficult balancing act, I suppose, because I do understand from a lot of the top level championships perspective why a lot of the decisions have to be taken. It obviously comes from a financial position. I am obviously very old school, and I'm a fan first. You know, my dad wasn't a racing driver. I didn't know anybody in motor racing before I came into it. I didn't have any money, so I didn't know anything other than being a fan. So my heart will always scream blue murder when there's a championship that's stuck behind a paywall. You know, I'm afraid I'm one of these people who are like, if you want people to watch motor racing, you should not be charging them extra to do it. So as much as I think the Sky F1 coverage is spectacular, and it really is good, it's the best we've ever had. And I've gone through every iteration of broadcast coverage since it was on the BBC on Grandstand in the early 90s. And say what you want about Sky F1. You can say it's repetitive on their 24/7 channel. You can say that the broadcasters do things in a certain way, but it is the best coverage we've ever had of Formula One. And I do understand that it has to be paid for. I do get that. But it is frustrating from a fan's perspective. You know, you want to bring fans into the sport, then to give them only a pay-per-view option is frustrating. It's why I think Formula E have been geniuses this year, absolute geniuses, to put it back onto ITV, because they have pulled a trick that Formula One haven't, live access on a free-to-air channel. That's how you build a fan base. That's how you get people in. And it's brilliant. In terms of what the media has to do in order to sell better for the fan, we do have an obligation. We do have a bit of a responsibility to bring the fans closer to it. But I also feel that we have a responsibility to make sure that the fans' opinion does count for something. And I feel that, there should be more done to bring fans closer to the sport in that regard. I often wonder if the press conferences at a Grand Prix on a Thursday should actually have fan questions thrown in. I think there should be a sort of a section. You get press conferences over the course of the weekend where the journalists obviously have a chance to throw their questions in. But Thursday, why not open that up for the fans? Why not throw them the chance to ask questions of the drivers? And that, for me, would be a massive step in the right direction. Other championships are doing things like that. It's certainly something that, as I said before, without the fan, Formula One would cease to be. We need to have fans watching it. It has to be giving them something. Events like this F175 celebration at the XL are a fantastic idea if it's done correctly. And I still feel the idea was right. The concept was a good concept. In my personal opinion, the delivery not quite up to scratch. And we haven't even done it yet. And the fact that the people that are attending are not going to be, on the majority, fans. The whole point was that this was going to be a chance to bring the fans closer to the event. And the only way, as far as I can see, they've brought the fan closer to the event is that they're going to televise it. But they're going to televise it on the channel that the fan is already having to pay for in the first place. So there's no real delivery there for the fan. They've only really gone for the high-end, money-making, influencer-engaging market. And that's a difficulty. And we have this, I think we have a responsibility as media to not let the world of social media dictate everything that we become. We have an opportunity. Social media is powerful, but we do not have to sell our souls to it. There's this kind of line that we are giving to influencers and content creators, male and female, before anybody starts going, they're just letting girls in. They've been letting girls in for several decades. It's just been done in a very, very different way. And I'm not saying that women do not have a great voice. I absolutely love that we've got more female voices in the sport. And I think we needed them. We really needed them. So people like Ruth Buscombe, an incredible voice for the sport. Laura Winter. Oh my God, we need 25 more Laura Winters in this sport across the entire world of motor racing. She is an absolute trailblazer. To have Bernie Collins. Oh my goodness, where was Bernie Collins 20 years ago? We needed more people like that. But there's a bit of a temptation, I think, from a lot of these major championships, not just Formula One. I think a lot of them are guilty of it, of looking at the follower base of a social media content creator and going, let's bring them in, whether they have any knowledge of that sport or passion for that sport or not. And yes, numbers mean a lot. But personally, I think passion means a lot more. And I think we are in danger of allowing social media to run our sport. And that is a dangerous and scary place. We've just seen Autosport magazine, the magazine that I read as a 9-year-old in school when other people were reading the Beano. That has gone from being a weekly to a monthly because there's no demand for it now. And, the wind is blowing in a very contrary direction. But we do not have to be a slave to the social media gravy train. We do not have to go in that direction. We can be authentic without being slaves to numbers. And Formula One was always very, very good at bringing the right people in from about 1992 through till about 2017, I think, 2018. That's when things really started to sort of turn the tide. And chronologically, you can point to Netflix and kind of say that was an influence of that. But I don't think that was the only reason. I don't think that was the only cause of it. The bigger something gets, the greedier people become. And social media is the absolute archetype of greed. We are so desperate to have 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 followers, all of whom have to be engaging with you 150% of the time. I got told recently by a casting agency for television producers. I've applied for about 50 of them over the years, never got one. And one of them told me, oh, you won't be able to join our books because you don't have a followership of 25,000 people. I'm like, well, that doesn't mean I can't do my job, though. I'm still very good at doing my job, and I'm clearly getting the right jobs. So why does that mean I can't join your agency because I don't have 25,000 sheep following on my every word? You know, the stats tell us that 70% of anybody's social media following are not real people anyway. So that would mean that 70% of most of these influencers' followers are not real people either. So you're investing in them based on a number that's not actually accurate. So I think we are in danger as the media of being slaves to the social media, but there are plenty of other forms of media out there. There's radio, which is still for me the most important and powerful medium of them all. Television, we still have good access through YouTube streams, Twitch streams, which I think actually do more for us in the long run and will do more for us in the long run than Instagram, than Snapchat, than X. I can't believe I called it X. It's called Twitter. Stop conforming, Jake. Stop it. It's called Twitter. But yeah, we have an obligation. We do have an obligation as media. We have to make sure that we are authentic to the sport and not slaves to the social media. And we are in danger of getting that wrong. So I'm always quite mindful of that.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword a little bit. It's doing a lot of good, but we're slowly starting to see it doing some bad. It's not great. I have seen, especially on the influencers side, me and Imane were actually talking about this the other day. But just
what I will say, I mean, to sort of clarify my comments before people drive me down as being, a silencer. What I do like about the social media traffic for motor racing is that it's got more people talking about it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Certainly in this generation, a lot more women talking about it, which is fantastic. So long, when I grew up as a kid, the only people I could ever talk to about racing cars was men. Were the only people I could ever talk to about it. And, it was hard enough to find men who you could talk to about it. You'd never be able to talk to a woman about motor racing. But nowadays, most of the conversations I have about motor racing are with the women in the sport. There are some fantastic people making, great content and making great strides in driving the sport forward. And there's some fantastic organizations out there like Racing Pride and, these fantastic opportunities to give people a voice that never had one before. And, as someone on the spectrum, I look at that and kind of go, God, I wish that would have been around in the 90s. I wish there was more of an open access policy for my voice to be heard. So what social media has given us is the chance to allow people who have never had a voice in the sport before to have one. And that is amazing. And I love hearing so many content creators, especially the women, because we've heard men's voices in the sport for so damn long. I've heard pretty much every opinion there is to hear. It's really refreshing and really nice to have a different set of opinions from a different set of brain stems. Women have a tendency to be very intellectual and very analytical, which is perfect for Formula One. It's perfect for motor racing because we see things from different perspectives. Men will see things from a certain way, women will see it from a different way. And to bring those two differing opinions and different mindsets into Formula One is fantastic. I'm getting content now from an opinion that I would never have even considered in my youth. And that's really refreshing. That's really exciting for me. And as a father of two daughters, to think that we're now opening up the world to give women that voice in a sport that I love is really exciting. And I love that. I just think the social media side of things, if we're only letting people in because they have a certain number of people on their channel, then you're kind of losing the point of why we're doing this. I think you should be giving those opportunities to the people who have shown consistent love, devotion, joy, passion, energy, excitement, commitment, focus, charisma for the sport. Those are the people who care. Those are the people who give a damn. And those are the people who are going to give you what you want. You want to celebrate this sport. Give it to the people who will celebrate it with you.
Thank you so much, Jake, for joining us today. It was a really, really insightful episode, one of the richest ones we had so far. It was a real pleasure to have you. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Thanks for tuning into this episode of a Polite Notice podcast with our special guest. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. See you next time. Bye-bye.
This has been episode 10 of the Polite Notice podcast, a Polite Notice production hosted by Daniela Stam, Emma Cheshire, Imane Morabet, Rebecca Jones and Savannah Lenz. Special guest Jake Sanson, research by Eleana Cheshire, and audio editing and technical production by Alex Vasile.
I need to do the clap thing. I always forget about that. Damn it. Okay. Good enough.